I have good news. I don't have COVID.
Really?
Oh, that's nice.
I thought I had flu or COVID or something. I've been sick for the last week, but it turns out I got nothing.
Well, you're not the only one who's sick without COVID. I've seen a lot of people, the change in the weather here in New England.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that we're expecting, 12 inches of snow tomorrow or a day after?
Oh,
Are you kidding me? It's 50 degrees right now.
Yeah. Welcome to New England.
I think it was Mark Twain when he moved to Connecticut said, if you don't like the weather in New England, just wait a minute.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. He had a lot of good things to say, unlike us.
It's all bad all the time.
It's all bad all the time. So, guys, did you survive the week of Log4j?
Barely.
Although it's like the 12 days of Christmas. It's awesome. Every day something new comes out.
I love this. Pat's
You're
like
such a sociopath.
I know, right? Pat is like, burn them down, send in the Tomahawk cruise missiles, and Dwayne is like, oh, this is awesome.
This is
I have the rational view.
Yeah.
And Dwayne is excited when people lose money in data.
Oh,
and Carl's, can't we just all live together?
I know, right? I just want a steak. All right. So what happened this week with Log4j? I mean, since we published that show, we've added a couple of links because Log4j is evolving in the response to it. So what happened?
Yeah, so it's been very interesting in the cybersecurity world. I'm pretty sure by the time cybersecurity people get to this podcast, maybe towards the end of this week, they'll be exhausted because most of them have been up many, many hours trying to figure out what's going on. The problem is, we talked about this, but Log4j is so ubiquitous. It's out there in every package. Lots of packages don't even know that they're using Log4j.
And to recap, Log4j is an exploit that affects so many systems that you could actually, if you're playing, what was the game?
Minecraft.
If you're playing Minecraft, somebody could send you a message that was carefully constructed in such a way that they could take over your computer, access all your data, like escalate privileges, like it's bad.
It's so awesome. So there's a new exploit that was announced today that's been tracked, where you could log into a Minecraft server, and so this exploits a logging module. So Log4j is a logging module in Java, but most clients don't have it turned on. So like if I were to load up my Minecraft and connect to a Minecraft server, I usually am not logging locally, right? I'm not concerned.
Okay.
But what servers can do is they can push down mods to your client. Mods make swords look different or make the client run different or give it new added functionality. Well, what people are doing now is they're exploiting the server.
I like to think that mods have made millions of gamers think, hey, I might be able to be a programmer someday, and then say, nah, I'll just play the game.
Right. My kids went through that same phase.
Right. This is too hard. I'll just play the game.
So then now what they're doing is they're exploiting the servers, adding a new malicious mod. And then when you connect to the server, you download the new mod and then run it, and it's instantly deploying ransomware.
Wow.
Awesome.
So the mod might be made attractive, like, your sword will be twice as sharp, and you'll
not even that. The mods on a lot of these servers are required. So
you want to connect to the server, you need
can
this mod.
mark it as required. Yeah, and when you
God.
connect, it just downloads. You don't get the option.
Has the infection rate gone? I feel like we're talking about COVID here. Has the infection rate gone up this week?
So it has, and that not that alone, but the fact that nation states have now adopted the Log4j attack entry mechanism and then coupled it,
meaning they're exploiting
using it.
Oh yeah. They're starting to use it wholeheartedly.
All right,
we've seen a lot of it.
Tell me, bring it.
Well, certainly not Russia or China.
Then I don't know who we're talking about.
Oh, okay.
Maybe Iran.
That's certainly Russia or China.
Right,
Iran,
it's probably Iran or North Korea.
So we're talking about this story in the Washington Times about China and Iran accused of exploiting new Log4j hack. Is that what we're talking about first?
Yeah, and it's interesting. It started off with, I'm not entirely sure whether it was somebody trying to figure out how they could glean more power on a Minecraft server, But there was an exploit on a Minecraft server, and everyone, ha ha ha, that looks stupid. That's nice. You can take over Minecraft servers. And then somebody realized, oh wait, the piece that they're taking over is in almost every piece of software on the planet.
I think the first word was "oh," and the second word we can't repeat on this podcast.
But yeah, now we're starting to see nation states over the weekend start to adopt this as the way that they breach sites. They were using. We had talked earlier this year about the exchange log proxy issue, the proxy logon, where people were nation states were breaching Microsoft Exchange servers to deploy, ransomware, command and control structures, that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're seeing Log4j as the, hey, we're going to hit every site out there. It's super easy for us to just try and exploit this and pull down malicious software.
So they don't sit around and wait, do they? These nation states, they find an opportunity to jump right in. How is the American anti-ransomware brigade responding to this, Patrick?
So General Nakasone is the head of Cyber Command.
Okay.
And also the NSA.
Yeah.
And the U.S. has started to do a lot more to actually go after these bad actors. So remember when, Al-Qaeda was, didn't want to be associated with a bank account that was tied to Al-Qaeda. You didn't want, your name on a list. We're getting there. We're not there yet, but we're getting there. I think we're going to see is we're going to start treating these people as they should be treated.
All right. So Patrick, tomahawks delivered to your door, right?
Yes.
So Patrick's a hawk, by the way, if you haven't figured that out. All right. So Patrick, if you're listening to this show and you're a seasoned hacker, developer who wants to join the fight, it's like joining the army, right? Who wants to join the fight to fight these nation states like China, Iran, Russia, who are, to try to shore up our own interests. Is there any vehicle by which you can make yourself known and say, hey, I have some skills, I want to help?
So at the moment, no, but I've been working on a couple of plans to develop something. First,
you have?
Yes.
Wow.
So the first is I'm talking to an organization that has in the past helped me talk to my local senators and people in Congress.
Okay.
And what I'd like to see specifically is a way for people to give a cyber tip line, basically.
Yeah, right.
So let's say there's something called Google Dorks. So I can do a Google search.
Wait a minute, is this a real thing?
Yeah, it is a real thing.
So everybody who uses Google
Dorks.
Dorks.
It's not a real thing.
It is a real thing.
It is. It is.
What?
There's thousands. It's basically a Google search that will bring you a list of vulnerable targets.
So let's say you're trying to borrow music off the internet, and you want to find an MP3. So a simple Google Dork might be, in URL. So you want to be in the URL, you want a particular phrase, and then the name of the song, and then file type : MP3. And Google will take file type : and say, I'm only going to return to you a page that the file type of the page is an MP3. And I'm only going to return to you a page that has whatever name. So now you're manipulating the search engine to only give you certain things. Like I could say, I want something that in the page says top secret and the file type is PDF. And that's how a lot of government leaks have happened, where they'll pull, PDFs that say SCI or top secret clearance or whatever.
So can I just explain this for the lay listeners? This is what you're talking about is called the Google Hacking Database, right? GHDB. Yeah. It's an index of search queries that are called dorks, because we're dorks, used to find publicly available information intended for presenters and security researchers.
So here's an example. I'm not going to bring an actual Google Dork up, but let's say that there's a new vulnerability. We won't call it Log4j. We'll just make up a vulnerability. So the starfish, the jellyfish, starfish, squid vulnerability. And there's a file type of .config, right, that I'm looking for.
All right.
And it has to have squid in the name. So I could do a Google Dork for squid and the file type config. And I would do a search, and Google would return all of the websites that allowed that page to be indexed and give me a link to them. And now
are you guys giving away some of your secret tools that you?
They're not secret. It's on the internet.
No, unfortunately, yeah.
This is 101. This is like you watch 2 YouTube videos on hacking and you're already there.
Okay, all right, okay.
So it's not. This is basic stuff. But here's the problem. These dorks. There's thousands of them.
There's thousands dorks everywhere.
We talk
we're
about
in
this.
That Venn
This is
diagram.
just the vernacular.
What
So
did you call me?
far worse than dork. Trust me.
I know.
But here's the problem though. Let's say I have a Google dork that I use and I discover, I look at, and there's 3,000 company websites available and vulnerable.
Okay.
There's no good mechanism for me to go and notify those companies.
True.
If I call them up, they're going to suspect me of hacking. They're not going to believe me. We've tried this.
So you got to do a Troy Hunt. You got to do a Have I Been Pwned database and have them come to you.
Because like right now we have a Google dork that we've put in Google and
So let's put it this
way.
Dwayne,
Ice cream, clowns,
I'll say this.
happiness.
Let me, since I have the vulnerability here, let me see. So
you
I have the legal fiduciary.
Job, Dwayne.
So this has happened to us.
No talkie, Dwayne. Okay,
where Dwayne's tried to help a state that had a website that's vulnerable, called them up, said, hey, and they're like, that's not possible. And he's like, no, it's possible. You have a vulnerability. And they're like, he talked to a developer. He got to a developer and the developer wouldn't give him his name. And and Dwayne's like, I'm not giving you the details on this
I'm not
without
telling you how to hack this site. Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you how to hack your site and steal credit cards.
So that's why you guys were so worried about the governor from Missouri. Who got a call from a security guy like Dwayne,
right,
saying, "Hey, you're vulnerable," and then they arrested him.
That's had the chilling effect. They didn't actually arrest him, but they're trying to charge him.
Well, and that was only Social Security numbers.
Yeah,
the data that we could see was
credit cards.
So Dwayne, what are you doing?
Credit cards.
Why did you call him?
So we agreed that we would try to do that, but it didn't work. So So what I did is I called a buddy of mine who's retired FBI, and we talked, and he told me what to do. And I called in the tip line, and I had a conversation with someone. They took all my information. I told them what the site was. I told them what was going on, and crickets.
Nothing.
And we've looked at the Google dork. We didn't look at the site. We just saw it, and it's still there.
Easy.
So
I'm picturing a guy with buck teeth and freckles.
So what I would like to see,
with tape.
Hey, Google dork, is it there?
What I would like to see, what I'm going to propose to, some members of Congress, if they'll listen to me, is that the FBI set up a cyber tip line that I can call, and either anonymously or not anonymously, I can tell you, hey, Franklin's net is vulnerable. This is the vulnerability.
What?
This is how I know they're vulnerable. I would like a ticket.
Yeah.
And when they give me a ticket, I have 90 days. And in 90 days, I can publish that on the internet and I can tell the world about that problem.
Wow.
And if they fixed it, good on them. And if they didn't.
So you're saying put some pressure on the people who have vulnerabilities.
Yes.
Yeah.
And put the onus of notification on the FBI
to
say, hey, just let you know, there was a tip that came to the cyber tip line. We gave them a ticket, which means they can publish that information without prosecution.
I want you to know that I have gotten many, many emails from the FBI warning me about things.
That's the problem.
And I've completely ignored them because you know what? They're bullcrap.
You're right. Tell you to. Yeah.
So how does this? It just occurs to me, like, how do really smart people get through the stuff like Dwayne? Right? How do you get through? You're like, no, really?
Yeah.
I'm not a Nigerian prince.
I'm trying
scammer.
I'm trying to make that the FBI's problem.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting because when I talked to this developer and explained what we could see, first off, he was like, yeah, that's not possible. And secondly, then he was like, wait, what are you doing on my site?
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah, but you what you could do is you could say, oh, you want some proof? Okay.
Yeah,
your admin password is X.
But here's the problem, Carl. The problem is it shouldn't be that hard.
You're right.
I know.
You're right.
If someone's house is burning, I can go try to put it out, and I'm not going to be shot.
Right.
For trying to put the house out,
unless it's your house.
Yeah, then you go. Then you might.
All right. Let's move on to some of these other stories.
So before we move on, real quick though, I do see some government agencies trying to switch over to a bug bounty program. So Department of Homeland Security just announced a bug bounty program either today or yesterday.
Meaning they'll pay you for information?
Yeah, they'll pay up to $5,000 for you if you can breach the Department of Homeland Security.
Oh.
The only problem I have with bug bounty programs like this,
They're too easy for you.
I mean, it's got to be a challenge, man. No, it's only a small group of vetted security researchers.
Oh.
So it's like, oh yeah, you 5 guys, it's okay. Everybody else, you know what I mean? And I think for a program like that to be successful, it has to be wider, more open, because you know what? The guys in Russia are hitting it right now and they're not vetted.
That's right.
So
that's right.
Who cares?
Yeah.
But yeah, so.
All right. So sticking with the Log4j theme,
Yes.
let's talk about this vaccine for critical Log4 shell vulnerability.
And Log4Shell is kind of the printer nightmare name for the Log4j issue. So Log4Shell, the vaccine, I would be careful. I think we're going to put a link up on the site with this for the vaccine. The vaccine is some researchers went out there and exploited Log4j, created code to exploit Log4j. And then that code, instead of deploying ransomware, instead of doing malicious things to the system, actually disables the JNDI lookups on that website
to defang it.
To defang it, make it so that it will never work again.
Exploit to
Patch
remove
the
exploit. Yeah.
Right. It's probably better if it's your site. Highly illegal for you to go to hit anybody's site you don't own. I'm going to put that out there.
Sure.
Unless you're Patrick, then it's fine.
No.
Even if you're doing them a favor.
Even if you're doing them a favor.
Yeah.
B, there are patches out there for Log4j. The recent suggestions, I think, are the .16 patch. People were saying .15 was fine, but actually you want to go to .16. .15 still has some data leaks.
Whatever that means. All right, so that's just a patch number.
Yeah, but that's in there. Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. So patch. And then there is an inoculation out there, but I would not run that as your primary, patch. I would actually go patch.
Okay. All right. So what is Cyber Reason and what is their Log4Shell? What does that do? Is that similar?
So there are a bunch of different variants out there. My understanding is this is just another variant of the vaccine. So it's them trying to put together a piece of code that you can run against vulnerable systems that will then defang the ability to run any Log4j against your system. So it checks all of your Apache systems to see if you're vulnerable and then goes through and defangs it, not patches.
But it exploits it. So this is like a kid who wants to earn their merit badge walking through a parking lot, trying car doors, and every door that opens, they lock it and then shut it again. If they get caught opening a door, they're going to get arrested.
Right. Unless it's your door, which is then perfectly okay.
That's right. So you can only lock your own car. Don't be locking other people's cars.
Yeah. Do the Patrick thing.
Yes.
Yeah. So similar.
Yeah. So it's similar. And we're going to see a lot more exploits coming. There was whisperings on the net that there is a worm that is being created right now that's in its infancy that is leveraging this Log4j.
I don't think we ever defined what a worm is. It's a nice metaphor. It's something that burrows its way in and then does some damage from the inside.
Right. So this and worms have been around
since the 80s.
Yeah, I remember forever. Hearing that term when I was a kid.
I'm trying to think of the first one. Was it
the kid?
It was one of the FBI. I want to say it was one of the FBI cyber director's sons.
Yeah.
Or computer lab
like
research
Warren
guys.
or William or something.
Yeah.
Like W something was the name of it.
Yeah, it was actually impressive. I want to say, is it in the cuckoo's egg?
So, all right. So it burrows its way in and does some damage from the inside out, right?
Yeah, and it either does damage on the inside or hides.
William Tappan Morris.
All right.
There you go.
So it's like a virus, but it doesn't show itself until a particular time. Is that
right?
accurate?
And it may sit around waiting for commands. It may sit around waiting for payloads.
Okay.
That sort of stuff. So a lot more dangerous things coming. There is, by the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, there is a GitHub. We'll put a link out to for all the Log4j affected. It's called Log4j affected DB. So
is this the vulnerability guidance?
Yeah, this is a massive list of every piece of software that researchers have currently found Log4j vulnerabilities in, and what versions they were found in that software. Because right now it's really hard to find. If a vendor doesn't say they're using Log4j, you have no idea, right? Whether it's vulnerable or not. I mean, it could be a Java application that has no logging in it, or may have Log4j.
Okay.
So this is just a government website trying to keep track of what software you might want to be concerned about.
All right, so there's several ransomware things that we could probably just summarize, right?
Yeah, we should definitely do that. This is the list of people not to be.
Yeah, don't be these guys. Let's start with Ascension, Wisconsin.
Yes. And I think all of these are going to follow the same exact paradigm. Somebody clicked on something they really shouldn't have, and then got breached. So Ascension Health reports that it is among one of the many victims of a massive ransomware that was announced on the 15th. We have.
Did they pay?
It's still ongoing.
No
I mean,
word.
a lot of these are new this week.
Okay, so let's ask this question.
Okay.
What could they have done to mitigate, not prevent, because prevention is the first step. What could they have had in place that might have made this less painful? Whether we don't know of this. If they had desktop as a service, that might have made it a little better for the recovery.
Desktop
if they had
as a
redundant,
service, so like some virtual machine.
If they had a system where their desktops are
Virtual.
Yeah, and therefore refreshable, sandboxable, recoverable, standardizable. Desktop as a service is a measure you can use that can be used for security purposes. But a lot of people...
I'd like to say yes. I'd like to say yes.
You'd like to say yes. Why can't you say yes?
We know of like 9 different ways to use just a normal account.
No, you know of 9 different ways because you're a
We're going to talk about one today.
Okay,
genius.
But if you use this technology, let's talk about it.
Okay.
If you use desktop as a service as a technology, it's not a panacea. Nothing's a panacea.
No.
But what it would allow you to do is standardize your desktops in a way that most of these vulnerabilities exploit the fact that your desktops aren't standardized. They're not patched. They're not secure.
Right.
Sure.
Okay. So that's one advantage. 2, recovery. You can go back and say, okay, I'm going to recover all my client desktops quickly because I have a centralized interface instead of having to go around with floppies and reinstall everything.
So a real world example of that would be if you have an AWS Windows desktop or Azure or something like that, or even Google Cloud, I think, does this. And you log in and you use that as your main machine and you get some sort of ransomware attack and they say, oh, we're going to take over your machine. You're like, fine, I'll just close that out, refresh the one from an hour before, and then don't click the link.
Hey, Carl.
Hey.
Are we going to just bypass the fact that Patrick said, you don't have to walk around with a floppy?
No, you go ahead and address that because I really don't know what you're talking about.
Most of our listeners probably don't know what a floppy is.
Oh, a floppy. Oh, okay.
They don't know what a dork is either.
Yeah. Well, they know 3 of them now.
I was going to say. Oh, that's awesome.
You know what, old man?
Floppy
you knew what I meant.
is like a USB drive that's kind of like a CD-ROM that's kind of like...
The bigger.
Don't okay boomer me, you. You got gray hair too.
Oh my God. It's kind of like an SD card, but bigger.
It's like a big SD card.
But it's much bigger and holds much less data.
Yeah.
That was Matt, by the way.
That's awesome.
All right, so forget it. Floppies. Where were we?
I said you didn't have to walk around with a floppy.
Yes.
So
all right. So
ransomware. We'll rattle this list off though. So we'll have a couple links here, but ransomware attack shuts down computer systems for the Virginia legislative agencies.
I just want to know if any of these guys paid money, and if they did, is Patrick going to go smack him in the face?
Oh, I wish I could.
Or send tomahawks.
It should be illegal.
Or have the
It
predator.
should be illegal to pay a ransom.
Yeah. Did you say should be? I think it is. I'm almost positive it is illegal to pay a ransom.
Is illegal,
I'm 99% sure.
It is illegal if the organization is marked as one of the embargoed organizations. The problem is it's really difficult to know.
Yeah, I'm almost positive you can't pay it.
Wow.
But that's not. I don't think so because we have police organizations paying them.
So this could be dangerous, right? So if you get hit with ransomware and you balk and you say, "Oh, I really got to find out if this is legal," and I call the FBI or whatever, and they put me on hold and they don't talk to me like Dwayne, and then I'm screwed because the time is up, and that's it.
And everything's encrypted. You're done.
Everything's encrypted.
What I would like to do is every time we talk about ransomware, which will be every single week, I'd like to take one little topic like we did today with desktop as a service and talk about a way, a thing, just one measure that people can do because we've got to start building up a resiliency to this stuff.
Unplug your network cable. Turn off your Wi-Fi.
Don't use email. Don't use email. How about that?
Remove your keyboard, your mouse, and by the way, cut off your hands and live in a box.
And now you're safe.
That was the solution last week with the Log4j thing, right? Turn off your phones and don't use them for a week. We'll talk to you next week. Yeah, except to get the podcast. That's the only thing you can do.
Yes.
All right, more ransomware. So
more ransomware.
Natural gas supplier. Yep, billion dollar natural gas supplier.
Hit with ransomware.
Okay.
McMeeman. I'm gonna destroy this name. McMeemans. Is that how you say that? McMeemans hit by ransomware.
I don't know.
Anyways, don't be those guys.
Don't be those guys.
McMeemans manages 56 hotels, movie theaters, bars, and restaurants in the Northwest. Was also hit with ransomware.
We have 56 hotels. That's maybe 100 rooms per hotel. So 5,600 hotel rooms where people are using your Wi-Fi. No wonder you're going to get hit with ransomware.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God help them if their production company network is on their same network.
Yes, but you know as well as I do. Patrick, you've gone to hotel rooms and said, I wonder. And you've been able to get in, haven't you?
No proof of that.
There's the proof. You can't prove that.
I know Dwayne has. And he's like, oh, yeah, that was an awesome day.
You're going to get us banned from every hotel.
Throw up the fake access point in your room, just see who connects.
I'm the kind of guy that when I get a room key, I never give it back because I don't know what information they've stored in the room key.
Shred it.
Good point.
I have stacks of them here.
You know, a lot of those automated door electronic locks are all based on the same base cryptography and prime number.
Oh, yeah. Aaron.
So eventually those door cards will work again. And then also you can figure out what they are.
And then they call them dork cards.
Fun stuff.
Fun stuff. All right, so let's move on.
Don't be hit by ransomware. Don't
be hit by ransomware. And by now, you've probably gleaned a few tips.
I think we need to spend the rest of our time on the SAM account name spoofing.
Okay. What is SAM account? What is that?
Yeah, so this one's an interesting attack. So for all of you who don't have a Microsoft corporate network, you can glaze over or laugh at the people who do. But your office or company that you work for probably has a network, and you're probably using Microsoft if you're in any corporate environment. If it's a Microsoft network, there's this massive thing called Active Directory that allows everybody to log in and do the things they normally do.
It's like a big, what do you call it, contact database.
Yeah, it's a security layer. Right? What resources does Patrick have access to when he logs in? Does he get access to a printer? Does he get access to his computer? What level of access, etc.?
All the accounts, all the computers, all the resources are within the domain.
Yes. Now, what's with this particular CVE, which we'll post links to this, so you don't need to worry about what the numbers are and that sort of stuff. It's fallen under the radar. It was announced a few weeks ago. But because of Log4j, everybody's all excited about Log4j and hasn't really focused a lot on this. So the attack path here is anybody in your corporate environment right now, whether this is a school, whether it's just an 8th grader student who has a username and password, whether it's a hospital and a nurse or a tech has access to, just has a normal username and password. So any account, no matter what privilege they have, in a Windows Active Directory domain has the ability by default to add 5 computers to the network, which is weird.
It's convenient.
Yeah, who cares?
And convenience is the
enemy of security.
Why
Patrick you would do that? So the simple fix for this, who for people who don't want to listen to the issue, the simple fix for this is to actually set that to 0. Normal users cannot add computers to the domain. Period.
Right.
But let's assume you're a normal Microsoft network and you haven't done that. So what happens is you take a computer, you add a fake computer with code. You add a fake computer, 1 line of code, PowerShell code, to the domain that is the name of the domain controller.
Dwayne, how many times have you done that?
This week?
I could do it by hand right now, by memory. So you add a computer to the domain that is the name of the domain controller. So your domain controller is a computer that holds the master database of who's authenticated to do whatever. If I were to create a computer named the same thing as my domain controller, it wouldn't cause an issue. Here's why. Because your domain controller, all computer names end in a $sign. You don't see it, but they in the database in the back end, they end in a $sign. So that's how they know, hey, there's a computer account, not a user account.
Because they were written in early BASIC, which variables always had a $sign after them. I'm kidding.
So you take that and you go, okay, now I have a domain controller with this $sign, which is the real domain controller, and I have this fake domain controller with no $sign, but it has no rights to anything.
Okay.
And I grab what's called a TGT. We're not going to go into like Kerberos hacking and that sort of stuff.
We don't even know what you mean, so it doesn't matter.
All right. So
TGT?
in short, yeah, it's a ticket granting ticket. So I go with my computer with this new computer name, and I say I would like access to a resource on the domain.
Okay.
And what happens is the real domain controller and Kerberos commander sends me a ticket, and I hold on to it. Then I rename my computer back to any other name.
Oh my
Doesn't
God.
matter.
Why would you do that?
I have this ticket now that gives me access to anything I want as this fake computer. Still with me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe? Okay. Now if I try and use this ticket, does the computer exist?
No.
No, we renamed it. It's gone now.
But AD doesn't know that.
But what happens in Kerberos is Kerberos then says, oh, maybe this was a computer account. And it adds the $sign at the end.
No.
So now I have a ticket that has total control over the domain controller.
Yet more career advice for hackers who listen to this show. Here's another
so I can
tip
pull
for
down
ya.
all the users, all the passwords, all the things.
All right. So has that been patched?
No. To the best of my knowledge, I don't know that Microsoft is going to patch it because it's a feature.
Works as designed.
Oh my God. So
there are workarounds. You can say that normal users can't create computer accounts. That I would do that in a normal network anyways.
Right.
We will post and I actually love this site. The hacker.recipes site is awesome. They explain the whole process, give you all the code. If you're just a normal security researcher and you want to play around with this, do it in a lab, not in your real domain, because naming a computer the name of your domain controller or domain causes all sorts of really bad things on the network.
Agree. And so that is the SAM account name spoofing link that we have in the show notes.
And if you're ever looking to be a lead hacksaw, there's all sorts of fantastic recipes on there. Go ahead, Patrick. Sorry.
So back to what Dwayne was saying about the bad things about naming things after your domain.
Yes,
we were. Well, I'm going to tell him that story. I won't name the guilty will not be named. So we were working with a company, and they were too distracted to deal with the things that we were trying to do because they had name resolution problems. They couldn't make work. They couldn't get their domain controller to respond.
You put two computers on the network and they wouldn't talk to each other.
They had fundamental networking problems and they couldn't get on with the rest of the business. And we had just helped them put a solution in place. And so, of course, they're blaming everyone, including us. Okay. And so, Dwayne, tell them what you found.
Yeah. So after a lot of digging and a lot of Wireshark and a lot of network tests, we found out that some user.
You were right the first time.
Had taken a Western Digital NAS drive. Just a USB Western Digital NAS drive.
One of those plug-in ones.
Had plugged it in.
Had its own DHCP server?
Nope. No, not even that, but it's a great guess.
Even
had
better.
Plugged it in, and the first thing it said is, what do you want to call me? And he said, he named it the same as the domain control, as the domain name.
Oh.
So now he shut down all authation to the network. Like nobody
because
could log
it
in.
Became,
couldn't talk. Yeah. Because
it was
received
answering
all
requests
the requests
for wins and things like that.
For all the, for all the
So if
network security.
if your request went to that by accident, it died.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
it's
It
like,
did
I
not
don't know.
respond. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's just, hey, I'm just a hard drive. I don't know nothing.
Right. Talk about fickle. He'd unplug it, it'd work. He'd plug it back in, it wouldn't work. He'd plug, yeah.
At least it didn't say, sure, go ahead. At least it was like, I don't know.
If it did, we would record that as an exploit we'd use.
All right, so we have just like 4 random things that happened left in our list. Gumtree. What is Gumtree? Gumtree classified site leaked personal info via the F12 key.
What?
Now, for those who don't know, every browser, when you're on a site, you can press your F12 key and
Don't do it.
Yeah,
You get arrested.
I know. All of this stuff comes up, and it's really for developers.
Now you're a hacker, Harry.
Our hackers, yeah, to see sort of the.
You're just viewing the source.
Yeah, well, it's more than viewing the source, because if you right click and say view source, you'll get what was sent to the browser, but not what exists in the browser.
Yes.
Which could be dynamically generated. I know. Ask me how I know.
How do you know this, Carl?
And if you go to console, the console tab, you will see all of the errors that your JavaScript has had. And if you go to the network tab, you'll see all of the things that have been downloaded and uploaded or sent and received from your website to the server. And if it's in clear text, if they haven't done their job of encrypting things, guess what? You can read it. So, it's kind of, I don't know, to mere mortals, I think F12 is ignored. But to people who are in the know, developers and such, that when they want to detect a problem or diagnose a problem or troubleshoot a website, it's the first place they go.
It's kind of like the lock on your door. The lock on your door is an incredibly impossible barrier if it's locked for most people. But if you know how to pick a lock, not so much.
We'll teach that on our next podcast.
You're just hoping that the neighbors haven't taken that lock picking course.
Well, that's why you have 3 big dogs like me.
Yeah, and
Just bring
several
a snake.
cannons and Uzis.
Yeah.
Tomahawk missiles.
Actually, if someone broke into my house, I'd rather use my paintball gun.
Paintball gun. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
I'm not going to burn my house down. I'm not going to kill my dogs.
You're sure going to scare the hell out of them, though.
I'm not going to go to prison if I kill them.
Right.
I still might kill them.
You just say, hey, we were playing paintball.
No, I'll say, hey, I could have used this array of actual weapons, and I decided to go light on them.
Right. Patrick, you are a true gentleman. Yes, you are.
Gentleman.
A true gentleman uses a paintball gun against an intruder in his own home.
Well, plus, if you shoot him, then the dog doesn't get to keep, going after him. So,
shoot him. Sorry. All right, where were we?
Guys over there. So what's interesting about this article is this is another story of somebody hitting F12 and seeing sensitive data.
Yeah.
Now, Gumtree.com, to their credit, didn't sue him or try and get him arrested. Actually, fixed the problem and thanked him
unlike the
for
Missouri governor.
So it's interesting. Yeah. Be careful where you use that F12 hacking tool. I'm waiting for the first browser that when you click the little hamburger menu in the upper right and drop down, instead of saying developer tools, it says hacker tools. I want that to happen.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
That'd be awesome.
Carl, you were right that we need to figure out a way to get our concerned citizens with some technological background to be able to help in this fight.
Oh, totally.
We're not there yet.
No, there's a definite shortage of people who know how to figure out these things, and at least who can diagnose problems and do problem solving. All right, so moving on. State-sponsored hackers abuse Slack API to steal airline data. This is an article that one of us posted in Slack.
Or did we?
Or
yeah, maybe we didn't.
Did we? So this one's cool. If you're on a reason, if you're on a normal network and I'm trying to get data off, I'm trying to what they call exfiltrate data off of a network. I'm always looking for ways to do it. So pushing the data over, say, HTTPS or web traffic, good way to get off of a network, but everybody's looking for that. So if I'm in a network and I'm trying to move data out, what other ways might I do it? Well, DNS has been now taken up as a way to exfiltrate data, but even that's now getting scrutiny. So people are looking for more and more ways to exfiltrate data and control your botnet that's on the inside of a corporate network. And now we're seeing Slack being used as a command and control structure. So you install a piece of malicious software on the inside of a network. It connects out to a Slack API.
Using a bot or something?
It logs into a channel, and there's a channel for commands, and there's a channel for status, and there's a channel for whatever, and the bot agent says, hey, I'm online, and then the operator can go into Slack and say, okay, I want you to go give me all the information on things that are running on your computer, and the bot picks that up and then runs it and puts the results in another Slack channel. So they're using Slack now as their command and control.
This is not new. There's all sorts of out-of-band communication mechanisms. For example, there's been spies caught sharing a Hotmail account where it's drafts left in the drafts folder is how they communicate.
Should anyone still be using a Hotmail account?
Hey, I got a Hotmail account.
What? What is it?
It's dlaflot@hotmail.com. Send
What's
me
your
all
password?
your great viruses. I need new ones.
So Hotmail was bought by Microsoft, was it?
It was. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
a long time ago. And I guess it was a really, even before AOL, was it before AOL?
Ooh, if
It
it
might have been
wasn't,
around
it
the
was
same
it was
time.
around the same time.
Yeah, it was one of these things where you need an email address, free.
Yeah, you got a Hotmail.
Go Hotmail, yeah, before Yahoo and all that stuff. Anyway.
At least it has mail in the name.
Yeah, right.
Right.
And the reason I said that is because one of the members of my band had a Hotmail account and it was working fine. And then the last time we sent a group email to all the members, it came back, hey, this account doesn't exist anymore. So
Wow.
I wondered if Hotmail was done or if it was
Oh
just
yeah,
this
they're
one.
still around.
Yeah.
Doing great things.
All right, so getting back to this Slack thing, they used it to steal flight reservation data. What can anybody do with flight reservation data except to say, "Oh, Carl traveled to Las Vegas last week."
Right. All right. So that's you get a lot of information out of there. Now, to the credit of the team that found this, because if you were on a network, and one of the reasons I wanted to bring this up is if you're on a network, you're always looking for suspicious data that's coming off that network.
Okay.
If I see Slack communication, our organization uses Slack. So if I see Slack communications coming off of our network, I wouldn't, as a defender, even think about it.
Yeah.
The team that found this was the IBM X-Force, was the team that discovered this for this particular airline, which is awesome. I wish we had a cool name like the IBM X-Force, but
Hey, you
couldn't
could always
publish it
make one
anyways.
up. Yeah, right?
We do. We just can't publish it.
Oh.
yeah, we got a wicked cool name. We can't tell you what it is. Those guys and gals are actually really, really bright. So it's hard to find, but what were they doing with it? A, they were using it as command and control. B, you could find all sorts of personal information if you're looking at reservation data. So here again, personal information is king if you're trying to.
It's not just about that. That's the other thing you got to think about. I mentioned this in the past show a while back, but Marriott got hacked. 500 million records were hacked, and it's widely believed that because that data never showed up on the dark web, and this data may never have shown up on the dark web or may never.
Oh
and
yeah, if IBM hadn't caught this exfiltrating, they may never have known.
Right.
Wow.
So if China wants the data, which is what's believed happened with the Marriott, it's so they can track the movements of our diplomats and suspected spies and dissidents and things like that.
They don't care about you and me. They care about the diplomats and the
after some of the things
spies.
I've said, they might. But
After all the drones you've sent. Wait.
I don't think I'm going to China anytime soon, but
No.
All right. Guys, we're out of time here in New London, so I guess we're going to have to save the last story for next week. But this is, it's always interesting. It's always fun to talk to you guys. And
likewise.
Yeah.
Stay out of trouble.
Yeah, we'll catch you next week with more of Security This Week.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
All right. See you later.